Welcome aboard the BK Escape Pod. That's right, it's the augmented and bionic podcast version of the live show. You can hear us Saturdays from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Eastern on 100.3 FM and AM 1450 WBHF Radio. You can stream the show live there Saturdays at WBHFradio.org or on the free Tunein app. Look out, here we go. Oh, and by the way, if you hear me give out a telephone number, don't call because this is a rebroadcast, and our janitor Charlie will answer the phone, and believe me, you don't want to talk to him. He's an ornery little cuss.
Today on the electric company, the man asks,
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Yeah, and when you know it, the minute the show starts, we got a big choo-choo train going down the railroad tracks here in the middle of town. I wish they'd stop building railroad tracks right by theaters and radio stations. Why do they do that?
Because then
the inside on it?
Makes it because the land is cheaper because nobody wants it, and that's why we put things here.
I mean, I know things have to go places. We have to transport stuff. But sometimes they come through town and they lay down on that horn. It's almost like the caboose guy goes, "Hey, engineer out there, listen, we're going by that radio station. Can you really lay down on the horn for about 30 seconds?
Well, I'm listening. They're just now coming back from a commercial break. I sometimes wonder. I know it's not, but I sometimes wonder during the morning that they are listening.
So everyone like
just as soon as they come back from break, go ahead, come into town and lay on that horn.
Hornet's nest, man. Just poke that hornet's nest. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. It's that little fun toy that I like to get a hold of every Saturday morning. And this station is my fidget spinner. It's the thing. It's a little bigger than one you can hold in your hand.
It's your shiny bubble. Look, it's caught my attention.
I know. I love it.
And, I like it.
It's a little shiny thing. Like barracudas are attracted to shiny things in the water. When you're like in the water, you got to be careful. But this place is my shiny thing that I like to play with every Saturday morning, and I'm glad to be here. Before I forget, I want to say a thanks to the podcast folks at Radio Labyrinth. If you've never heard of them or seen them, check them out. That's Radio Labyrinth. It's like one of those maze things you can get trapped in, a labyrinth. Now, for years...
Or Tim Andrews' brain.
Right. Which is a wonderful place to be, that I found out. I used to say it wrong. There's many words I used to pronounce wrong. I have a whole new type of words that I pronounce wrong as an adult. But as a kid, I would say library instead of library. I used to say labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
I would say it. Because if you look at the word, it's kind of like, okay, if you phonetically say it out like that, I guess that's kind of what it would sound like if you say it. But yeah, so check them out. Tim Andrews with a Radio Labyrinth. It was a fantastic interview. They get a lot of why they want me, I'll never know. But we were a like mind on a lot of nostalgic stuff that we were talking about. We hit on a lot of stuff that even I had kind of forgotten about. Check them out on YouTube, on your podcatcher of choice. Check them out. Check out all their social media like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Radio Labyrinth, and you can hear BK or see me, because some of it's video, some of it's just an audio thing that they release.
YouTube.
You can see the whole video of me. It's just me in front of my microphone in my house.
Make sure you've got a widescreen monitor.
With a blank background.
But
you don't need 4K.
See all of you.
You don't need 4K,
You want to make sure that it's like in high res.
You don't need 4K, though, to see me in all my glory. It was fun. Tim was actually in his broadcast room, and I noticed behind him he had a lot of things, and I pointed out something behind him. He had an All in the Family book on his shelf behind him, and I said, Tim, what is that All in the Family book? And he picked it up and showed it to me. And it was he had a All in the Family compendium book that he just somebody had given him or he'd found, and he hadn't read it yet. So I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before with different covers. Sometimes it has a red cover, they'd reissued it and it would come out with a different cover. And I said, I can almost make out, it looks like Archie Bunker on that book that he's got. And he showed it to me. And we talked about Star Trek. We talked about the Star Trek the Motion Picture being released in 4K. We talked about how I come home from school every when I come home from school, I tried to do all my homework when I get, especially in junior high school and elementary school, because you had a little room during the day with breaks and that that time before you get out of school that you're just waiting for the bell to ring, like maybe 15 or 20 minutes when you're at school just waiting to leave. Mm-hmm. I would use that time to get my homework done. I'm like, I do my homework, all the stupid homework they give us. I'm going to try to get it all done now. Oh, and I can do a little bit more of it on the bus on the way home, blah, 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 blah. If I get it all done, I won't have to do any at home because I got important TV watching to do. I don't want that crap.
My shows start at 3:30.
I don't want that crap to exactly. I don't want that crap to bite into my appointment that I have with Captain Kirk and Gilligan and the Beverly Hillbillies and all those people that I Ultraman and Spectre Man and all that stuff. I had stuff I had to watch because I got to be brushed up on this stuff because I'm going to be talking on the radio one day and I'm going to need to know all that stuff. I had no idea that was going to happen. But I did want it to happen because after seeing WKRP in Cincinnati, I thought, man, I really love to be on the radio. That looks like the coolest job, especially Johnny Fever or Venus Flytrap. How cool would it be to do that? And I finally got to do it. Not at WKRP, but it is kind of like it here because you notice I talked with Tim on Radio Labyrinth about how a lot of the radio personalities are different, and they all kind of do exist because everyone's wacky on WKRP in Cincinnati.
There are a lot of types in radio.
Yeah, they can say that and talk about us too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's two types there. Yeah, there are two of the types.
Yeah,
well, it's not really bad, is it? But I had a good time. Check it out. They're a bunch of good folks, and also check out
if
Pat
we're in
McCormick,
stereo.
TV.
Are we stereotypes? Sorry.
Well, if we're in mono, are we monolithic?
I like being that. I'm that in my own home.
Are you monolithic in your own
Yes.
home or stereotypical?
I'm a big block that sits there and thinks I have influence.
That's funny. Especially with surrounded by daughters, right?
I keep putting out a little strange hum and hope that at some point they'll learn something, but they don't seem to pick up on any of it. So apparently I need to go back. Maybe they're too advanced. I need more of a primate or something.
In the meantime, you're getting like signals in your head from deep space, and Alan's I see you at the table with a big mound of mashed potatoes making a mountain with the fork. And you're like,
this means
this
something.
is important. This means something. I was talking to Close Encounters.
Dude, if I have a mound of mashed potatoes, you know what it means? Time to eat.
It means they're going to be gone soon.
Exactly. That's exactly what
You'll
that
have to build
means.
it out of something else.
That means I'm about to start eating.
You'll have to go get the garbage out of the back and start throwing it into the kitchen to make the mountain
I'm
that
not
way.
wasting food. Are you kidding me?
No way. Yeah, I was talking to Close Encounters with someone this past week. And you remember that movie got a special edition treatment,
That's the first one I saw, and I saw it
see-
in theater.
You got to see inside the ship, which I thought now looking back on it as more of a seasoned movie aficionado and critic that I am now, I'm looking and I go, that was cool, but I didn't really need that. Not seeing the inside of that ship is kind of like not seeing the shark in Jaws. You know what I mean?
It
was
kind of
mysterious.
confirmed what I imagined, but you're right. Because I can't imagine not seeing it, so that's the first one I saw, but
Right.
up to that point, you're
I saw
thinking,
the other version
what's it
first.
going to look like? What's it going to look like? And then you
Right.
see it, you look it back and go,
Okay.
it's neat. I don't think it ruins the movie.
But what made me mad, though, is in order to put that scene at the end, they had to cut the movie down and cut scenes out of the earlier in the film. And they cut a complete press conference out, which included the old man from Christine, Roberts Blossom, the old actor that sold Arnie the car in Christine. He's that old man out there whistling when they're all waiting for the aliens to come again. He's like, yeah, sing me Bigfoot once. He's just talking to them at the press conference. And a lot of scenes were cut out because of that. So it's one or the other. You got to have either these scenes or that and have the ending. I just prefer sometimes the original movie. I don't know why, because that's the first one I saw in the theater, was the original theater cut. It's BK on the Air, Golden Rage of TV, when we return.
We'll return after these messages.
When we saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind for the first time, we wanted more. Now, there is more. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the special edition, rated PG.
Check newspapers for local listings.
I'm Earl Shive. I'll paint any car for just $99.95.
This week only, you'll get polyurethane additive free.
A $19.95 value absolutely free.
With polyurethane, your paint job will have an extra hard glass-like finish and added durability. Your paint job will be guaranteed not to fade for 4 full years. Remember, free polyurethane this week only at Earl Shive's.
Right. I'll paint any car for just $99.95.
And now back to the guy who knows no limit on self-promotion. It's BK on the air.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. Most of us know and love Bob Eubanks as the popular host of The Newlywed Game and numerous other classic game shows. But what you may not have known was that Bob started as a DJ on one of LA's most popular radio stations, KRLA. During his mid-20s, Eubanks was determined to bring a new band that he saw on The Ed Sullivan Show out to California. Reportedly, to afford the fee, Bob had to mortgage his house. The result was one of the most historic concerts ever, 1964's The Beatles at Hollywood Bowl. Eubanks was also responsible for their 1965 return as well, and their final LA show at Dodger Stadium in 1966. Around this time, he also produced concerts for the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan. These events and others made Bob one of the most renowned concert promoters ever. His LA nightclub, the Cinnamon Cinder, spotlighted acts such as the Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher, Ike and Tina Turner, Stevie Wonder, and many more. A true cowboy at heart, he also managed the careers of country greats Merle Haggard, Marty Robbins, and Dolly Parton. So while we all recognize him as one of the greatest game show hosts, you can also add music mogul to the legacy of Bob Eubanks. This is Pat McCormick with your Retro TV Trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on YouTube and Facebook at Golden Rage of TV and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. And now back to making some whoopee with BK on the air.
Not in this studio, I'm
Pat!
not.
Pat! What was
Pat.
that?
No,
sir.
I'm
First of all, there's a window here.
Whoopee cushion, I think, is what he meant. I brought a whoopee cushion. So Pat talking about Bob Eubanks, the host of the Newlywed Game. I thought the
funny show.
It was funny. I wonder how many marriages it did break up, though. When you watch it, and I thought it was interesting about a side note that's similar to that. You and I are we consider ourselves friends with Harvey Korman's son, Chris Korman. Chris Korman, I found it very surprising that he had brought up with me once the fact that Harvey went on a game show called Tattletales, which was a game show kind of like the Newlywed Game, only it's married couples and they go on and they try to match their answers, and the audience wins points or whatever, and the spouses will go off camera and wear headphones where you can't hear anything, and then they'll pop them on the screen right below them on a stand that they're sitting at with the points read out. Chris Korman said, I don't like watching Tattletale reruns, and I know the Game Show Network will rerun them and stuff. And he goes, because that game show was responsible for breaking up some Hollywood marriages after their appearances on there, when they would give the wrong answer and find out, why did you say that? Yeah. I thought you thought this, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea. So you can imagine the Newlywed Game, which these aren't celebrities, these are just regular people on there trying to match up their answers with their new spouse.
Not that long ago, Susan and I did that. She actually found a website where you can find newlywed questions, like Newlywed Game type.
Yeah.
And we played back and forth with each other to see how consistent we'd be. Now, we're not newlyweds, but it's amazing. Some of the things we were dead on. Like, we just knew.
Of course, yeah.
And some things I was like, I have no idea what her favorite color is. How do I not know what her favorite color is?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the reason I say that
for
is
her, I don't know what his favorite food is. Everything?
Yeah. I had no idea, thanks to Pat McCormick and the Golden Rage of TV. That's part of the reason why I listen to him, because he knows his stuff. I had no idea that Bob Eubanks did so many other things, like manage music groups and stuff. And I guess, when you do that and you got downtime and there's a important part of your life where you're not hosting a game show and that's all you're known for, you got to have another source of income, unless you sign some kind of lucrative contract for reruns of the Newlywed Game where you get a check every time they show an episode or something. You got to do other stuff, and I had no idea that he did all that.
Do you know, it took me until I was well into adulthood to realize they record all of the game shows for that week, usually in one day.
Oh, yeah, especially Match Game. Yeah, a lot of those they
would just go through and
change clothes.
Right. Or I mean, for like studio audiences, they have them there for a studio tour. They'll just bring in and just record.
Bring in the next group.
They'll spend a day recording, and then now you've got 5 episodes. I was like, what? They don't do this live every day? It's not their day job?
And something similar to that, but not exactly like that. I'd found out later in life.
Something similar, but nothing close.
But you'll see what I mean when I tell you what it is. A lot of sitcoms, especially in the 70s and in the 80s, that were filmed before a live audience, they would film 2 of them for two different audiences. Now, to air it on television, what they would do is they would take the best takes out of each one they filmed and edit it together into one episode. It was still the same story, same dialogue and everything. And now, when I was watching, a few years back, I was watching an All in the Family episode. We just talked about that earlier, talking about Tim Andrews having that book with the Radio Labyrinth. I was watching an All in the Family episode, and I was noticing something weird between, like, when the camera angle would switch from one actor talking, then back to the other actor, then it would go back to that actor. I'm like, his hair is different. I'm just noting and it was enough to notice there was a difference to his hair. And I'm like, what's going on there? Why does his hair look different just in the very next second shot than it looks? Then it went back to the way it looked before. I found out that was a different take from a different audience that day that they mixed together kind of like a film. But it was the same story, same episode. And I thought that was interesting because they wanted the best delivery out of the two to air on CBS.
Makes sense.
And that makes sense, too, as a director's vision to get out there that he wants. So, yeah, talking about movies and stuff like that, do I have enough time to do this? I think I have enough time to do it. I want to talk about this story that I printed. Where did I get this? This is from WSB-TV. A lot of movies are filming in Atlanta and Georgia. We're proud of it. We're proud to be at least Broadcast Central located here in Bartow County, Georgia, which is Cartersville, which we're just northwest of Atlanta. Would we be considered a suburb being way up here?
We are definitely a suburb of Atlanta.
But years ago, that suburb line was a lot shorter. Now that the suburb line seemed to get further and further out as
like
time
many
goes
people's
by.
waistbands, it continues to expand.
Hey, I represent that remark.
Me too now.
From Richard Elliott at WSB-TV, Blackhall to become largest movie studio in the southeast United States with DeKalb County expansion in the Atlanta area. The largest movie studio in the southeast will soon be in South DeKalb County, and in an agreement made this past Thursday could mean 2,400 new jobs for the area. Blackhall Studios is where they shot Jumanji, the Jungle Cruise, Dr. Sleep, the Shining sequel with Ewan McGregor, other movies. It's a really big studio, let's just put it that way. Now DeKalb County is ready to give the studio a big tax incentive in return for hundreds of millions in investment. Decide DeKalb Development Authority announced Thursday that it would provide more than $65 million in tax and infrastructure credits in return for Blackhall's parent company investing nearly $380 million to double the size of the studio in an area often described as underserved. The expansion will take place on land that Blackhall's parent company has owned for a long time. So there we go. There's another example of another studio that's expanding, and it's going to make it the largest movie studio in the southeast United States. Another reason that's putting Georgia on the map for filming movies.
I had a chance to interview Governor Kemp, and we talked about the film and video industry. And he said, I wasn't too worried about them leaving because while California was closed, we were open for business.
Yeah.
And they were making money by filming here, and we have a great relationship with our film and video partners. So he said, a lot of times they'll say things in posture, but I do what's right for Georgians.
Right.
And they knew if they wanted to have their movies made, they were going to be filming in Georgia.
Yeah, and that's what you call a double whammy. Number one, they're already out here for the number one reason, which is the tax credits, and they save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because let's look at it this realistically. A movie studio and producers, their bottom line is to film a movie for as least amount of money as they can get away with, but still make it look good. Right? If you have a budget, that's what you always
Your
want to
business
do.
model is spend less, make more.
Make more. That's right. And that's their first thing. Their second reason, you just pointed out, California is kind of closed down. We can't really do much. We've got our hands tied out there. Georgia's chucking right along like a locomotive. There's another reason. So you're not losing anything by relocating here. You've got different terrain here. We got mountainous terrain. We've got urban terrain in Atlanta, make it like a big city. If you need to look like New York, you can film it in Atlanta and digitally do something to the back, whatever you want, like they've done before. We've got everything here that you need as far as filming stuff.
It's a great state to live in.
I mean, we loved it here when Guardians of the Galaxy were right outside our window here a few years ago.
That would make me
right
say it's a great city to live in.
Of course, I didn't know what city I was living in because I was going out there and I'm like, why does it have a different police department cars out here from another city? This is crazy. This is awesome.
If we want to look like Missouri, you got it. Or was it St. It wasn't St. Louis, but it was Missouri, right?
I can't remember the name of the town, but
it
yeah,
was in Missouri. Like, if you want to
yeah.
make it look like Missouri, you got to go to Georgia. So that's the way
right.
it works in Hollywood.
This
Funniest thing that ever happened was
acting.
when The Simpsons tackled that when they were going to make one of the Atomic Man movies.
Right.
And they got a bunch of cows. Like, I thought you said there's horses. Well, cows look more like horses on camera. I'm like, that is a perfect satire of Hollywood.
Because it sounds like something Hollywood would say.
Yeah. No, we don't use horses. They don't look right. We use cows. They look more like horses on
Just
screen.
from a distance.
Up and at them.
Oh, but
no, it's up and at them. Up and at them.
Up and at them. But that just shows the stupidity of producers and stuff. I think
my
that's
favorite line in that Schwarzenegger takeoff was when they go, "We're gonna have you fall in the vat of acid, but the goggles will protect you." And he's going down, and he goes, "The goggles, they do not work."
That's right. That's
oh
great.
my God!
Wow. And how good is The Simpsons at predicting the future, too, we found out, which is fantastic.
Do you know, just recently, remember in the Simpsons movie, they had Tom Hanks come out.
They did.
They go, "Your government's lost all of its credibility, so they decided to use some of mine." And then come to find out, Joe Biden just hired Tom Hanks to film a PSA.
See, the Simpsons should be used
way ahead.
They're like the modern-day Nostradamus.
They are.
Homer Simpson is Nostradamus.
Did you hear the Simpsons predicted this back in 1994?
That's great.
So many things have happened.
Let me give you a quick rundown before we go to a break. Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, Echo, the Marvel series, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Black Adam from DC Warner Brothers, Creed 3, Bandit with Mel Gibson, the Wicked movie adaptation of the Broadway hit, and more. That's just a few of things filming or are done filming in Georgia right now.
Awesome.
That's just a short list of stuff that I would be interesting that my audience would think would be cool.
Stranger Things 4 coming up.
That's right. Coming up. It's BK on there. We'll be back.
Ever watch kids play with Weebles? It's really something. Hey, hey, look at me and Weeble. Me and Weeble go all around. One day, kids pretend they're flying into Weeble Airport. Next day, they play around the Weeble Cottage. Or if it's real nice, they go out to the Weeble Marina and go fishing. Hey, hey, look at me and Weeble. The Weebles waddle, but they don't fall down. Romperoo makes Weeble toys.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here. Ellen and I reminiscing on the break there about some video games. We got a little video game anniversary type stuff coming up on this day in history at the top of the next hour. I frequent quite a few video arcades growing up, and I'm sure that you got rid of quite a few George Washington metal quarters.
Lots and lots of allowance money went into the little slot there.
I would love to just at least see. I know it wouldn't get it back, but I'm like, if there was some magical way that I could be shown how many quarters I put in a video game when I was younger, I would just like to see it. Maybe I wouldn't like to see it.
No.
But, you know, if you stack them all up and add it all up now, since we're so much far into the future and things have changed, at least for us monetarily and stuff now, it probably wouldn't be as much as we would think it would be, but maybe when we were younger it would have been a lot of stuff. But I don't consider that wasted money. I consider that money well spent for my entertainment, and I had a good time doing it.
Dude, I remember when Dragon's Lair came out.
Oh, yeah, the Laserdisc game.
And
animated.
it was $1 to play.
Yeah, ooh, that was big time.
It wasn't 25 or 50 cents. It was $1.
Oh, buck.
And there was a lot of times I lasted maybe 45 seconds for that $1. I'm like, whoa.
Like, I didn't even get a minute's worth of time out of this $1.
It's like that's why I play pinball now.
Oh, yeah, pinball.
I can get a lot of time out of a single quarter in pinball, usually.
Well, if that's cool, fun time that we like to flash the audience of the news, the weird, the strange, and the bizarre. And we got some doozies in there today.
Yeah, guess what? I've got the first news.
I knew that.
This one sounds like it's right up our alley. From UPI, a superhero superfan in Florida recaptured a Guinness World Records title when he went to see Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters 292 times.
Wow, I guess he had the time to do that, huh?
Yeah, it's 290 times more than I have.
Yeah. Nah, it's 288 more times.
You saw it 4 times?
I saw it 3 times.
Oh, then it'd be 89.
Sorry. See, I can't do math.
Math.
That's why I'm in radio.
I don't math.
Don't do math.
Ramiro Alanis originally earned the Guinness title in 2019 when he attended 191 screenings of Avengers Endgame, but his record was broken in 2021 by another record breaker. Guinness confirmed Alanis, but it looks like Alanis, recaptured the record after he attended 292 showings of the latest Spider-Man film between December 16th of 2021 and March 15th of 2022. Alanis said he is hoping the high number will keep his title safe. He said, quote, "If anyone tries to break my record again, I want them to think twice before attempting it." The record-keeping, he's giving threats to future people.
Don't you
dare go to the movies more than me.
I'll web you up.
The record-keeping organization's rules required Alanis to remain in his seat with his attention on the screen for the entire film, including the credits. He was not allowed to look at his phone or take bathroom breaks during the showing. Alanis estimated he spent about $3,400 on tickets during his record-breaking attempt.
Well, isn't that funny? Because that explains exactly how I watch a movie when I go to the theater. When I go, I don't look at my phone. I don't even pick it up. I turn it basically silent and off in my pocket. And I don't take a bathroom break unless it's absolutely crazy necessary. I always try to evacuate all of that before I go in there. I always like to take care of all that because we don't have intermissions anymore at movies. Mm-mm. It'd be nice if you had them, and I don't. Somebody mentioned I'd like to see intermissions come back, especially for the long films. I'm like, you'll never see that come back because that eats into the time of the theater running that movie as many times during the day that they can run it. That 30 minutes will eat up time. I wouldn't mind seeing them come back on the older films. In fact, some of the older films, when you get them on home media, still have those intermission breaks on there that they have.
Right.
Does Sound of Music still have intermission on home versions? Well, How the West Was Won still has one?
I don't know on the DVD. Because I know the VHS tape had it.
Right. And what's interesting is...
Because it was a double. It was such a long movie. It was on 2 tapes.
And I understand that Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the new 4K version, when Star Trek was shown in the theater in 1979, it was 2 hours and it was an over 2 hour movie back then, 2 hours and 5, 6 minutes, 7 minutes long. But it started out with an overture at the beginning in the theater of Ailea's theme by Jerry Goldsmith in the film over a blank screen. There was like 5 minutes of music playing before the movie ever started. Huh. They have restored that on the 4K version. Nice. It has that music opening, that little music at the beginning, the Ailea Overture, which is really cool.
The last 2 movies that I know that have intermission, and they even do it on TV before they go to the break, is The 10 Commandments and Ben-Hur.
I think How the West Was Won does that as well. I think when like Turner Classic Movie shows it, or
I haven't seen that,
or on the tape or something like that. It's just another one of those real long movies. I got the next news.
Oh, we're doing Newsflash?
Yeah, we are. I forgot. A Pennsylvania family's pet cockatiel was identified after 3 years on the loose thanks to the bird's love for a classic TV theme song. Louise Duncan said that she knew the bird she found on the front porch of the Christ United Methodist Church in Lancaster County was not a native species. Duncan and Pastor Rosen Golden Taylor wrangled the bird into a box and contacted local animal rescue group ORCA. ORCA posted photos of the bird on Facebook and soon received a message from a family in Ephrata who reported their cockatiel named Lucky had escaped from their home 3 years earlier. Libby Rennells of ORCA said rescue workers and the family compared the bird to photos of Lucky and were pretty sure of the bird's identity, but a family member suggested another test. See if the cockatiel would react to the theme song. And he did. I mean, what a great theme song for a bird to know, the whistling theme to the Andy Griffith Show. That's the one. That's the theme that it would whistle, and it
did it whistle or did it bob its head to it? Like,
well, I don't know. I think it whistled it.
I love watching birds that start banging their heads with music they like. Like yeah.
Looks like they're really getting into it. Mm. I would love to have had a bird be able to do the Hawaii 5-0 theme. That'd be great. Alan's got the next news.
Wait, you hit the button, you handed it?
That would be an intricate theme song for a bird to do, would be Hawaii 5-0.
Give him a set of bongos.
Could he do that?
From UPI, an unusual traffic stop was caught on camera in San Francisco when police pulled over a car that turned out to be...
a truck instead of a car.
Completely unoccupied.
Oh, was it one of those
it was a Kit card.
Self-driving cars?
Kit was sick of it.
Why did you
I'm
pull
so
me
sick
over?
of you, Michael. All your photo shoots.
Why did you pull
going
me
over to Germany?
The Hoff. You're the Hoff.
The Hoffster. The San Francisco Police Department confirmed officers stopped the vehicle in Richmond District when it was observed driving after dark without its headlights activated. A video captured by a witness shows officers approaching the car after it pulled over and expressed surprise to find it empty.
Wow.
The autonomous vehicle was a taxi operated by Cruise, a company majority owned by General Motors. The company said San Francisco police are aware of how to deal with the driverless cars. Cruise said a maintenance team took control of the car to deal with the headlight issue.
So what would they do? Would they mail Cruise a citation for no headlights, I guess, and they have to pay the fine?
It makes me wonder, the self-driving cars, did they build software to recognize when the police are behind you? Because it pulled over.
Yeah. So I guess, or
like strobe lights.
There are questions unanswered on that.
Can I override that when I'm in my car driving in the back seat?
I've got the next news. Here's another one of those that we could do. It's one of those where you have to sit down and watch something and get paid for it.
Okay.
So another one of those.
I'm open.
A streaming service dedicated to true crime stories is offering someone $2,400 to watch 24 hours of documentaries and report on the experience. So that's basically what? $100 an hour? $2,400? See, I can't do math sometimes.
You did math!
I did it. Yay! Magellan TV said its third annual True Crimes Watch Dream Job, which follows similar offers made in 2020 and 2021, will pay $2,400 big ones and a free year subscription to a winning candidate who watches 24 hours of true crime documentaries in a 48-hour period. You got to do it in 48 hours and documents the experience on social media. The documentaries, or documentaries, like a guy I went to high school pronounced it, to be watched by the selected candidate include episodes of, and I've never heard of any of these, Murder Maps, Lady Killers, 10 Steps to Murder, Nurses Who Kill, Murder on the Internet, 21st Century Murder and Cyber Crimes with Ben Hammersley. That's just some of the ones you can watch.
This would be if there's the modern day Agatha Christie. This is her library of titles. Every one of those sounded like something that would be a murder mystery series.
Agatha Christie's Nurses Who Kill.
Nurses Who Kill.
It's like, wow. Some of the nurses I knew could kill you with their looks, man, because some of them, they could give you a look and you're like, I shouldn't have pull my IV thing out like that because that nurse just gave me the stink eye for doing that. Speak on there.
We'll return after these messages.
I've waited a long time for this, Luke Skywalker. Ready, Darth Vader.
Introducing Bespin World, new from Star Wars Micro Collection line. 16 die-cast figures and action poses included. It's 3 play sets in one.
I'll connect gantry to Bespin control room. Watch what happens to Luke. Wow!
Activate Bespin freeze chamber.
Han looks frozen. Let's connect him. It's the whole world of Bespin.
Bespin World from Star Wars Micro Collection line. Play sets also sold separately. Figures included. New from Kenner.
What's the worth of a man? For Steve Austin, it's $6 million.
Colonel Austin is in that plane.
I think they're going to shoot us down.
Isn't there any other way?
Lee Majors is Steve Austin. Steve Austin is the $6 million man, and he's worth every penny.
You're in the hands of an adolescent.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. I do want to remind you that I do turn the show into a podcast after we get off the air here every Saturday. I take it and I do a little magic to it, polish it up a little bit, a little spit polish, and you can actually hear it out there. I got a YouTube channel, Anchor, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Podomatic. So if you missed the show or you just want to hear something maybe a little different than what you heard Saturday, you can hear it. It's the BK on the Air podcast. I think Alan has
part of the BK
more
Nation
news.
No. Isn't it you?
BK Nation?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I do have one more. The BK Nation.
Who's the president of that? I don't get a check.
You're the president and you're the president and CEO of Planet Earth.
So I'm responsible for that.
You should be on the next Star Trek episode.
I'll be behind bars anytime now.
I'm going to be president of the universe.
No.
I am the universe.
I do have several things circling me, so I could be a planetoid of some kind. Got my own gravitational field.
Before I get myself in trouble, I've got the next news.
Oh, you're going to say it again. There we go. That's all right. I can take it out of the podcast.
There we are. From AP, from the Associated Press, a trove of paintings and other artwork found in an abandoned barn turned out to be worth millions.
Here we go, another one of those.
This is one that doesn't ever make me feel good. It always makes me feel like, oh,
why can't I find it?
Because we only find garbage.
Mm-hmm. Notified by a contractor, Waterbury auto mechanic Jared Whipple retrieved the dirt-covered pieces in 2017 from a dumpster containing materials from a barn in Watertown. Whipple later found out they were by Francis Hines, an abstract expressionist who died in 2016 at the age of 96 and had kept his work stored in the barn. In Hearst, Connecticut Media Group reported. Hines was renowned for his warping pieces in which fabric is wrapped around an object. Hines wrapped more than 10 buildings in New York, including the Washington Square Arch, JFK Airport, and the Port Authority bus terminal. Art curator and historian Peter Hastings Falk told the news outlet. The hundreds of pieces of art retrieved by Whipple include paintings, sculptures, and small drawings. Hastings Falk estimated the wrapped paintings can be sold at around $22,000 a piece, and his drawings for around $4,500.
Wow. I would like to find something buried in my backyard or in the that is worth something.
Oh, worth something.
I don't care if it's evidence from some bank robbery like 50 years ago. If it's still intact, I'm like, I don't have to spend it all at once and draw attention to myself. I can just, just deposit it, a little bit at a time into the bank, or whatever. There's ways around that. I can't believe I just said
satchel of cash?
A satchel of cash.
At this point, surely nobody knows to come looking for it. Obviously, it's finders, keepers, losers, weepers.
What would I do with all of that? What could all the things I could do,
What are we going to do tonight, Barry?
We did. Release the hounds. You'll know it when you use a character. You know what they mean when you have that kind of money. Oh, I want Mr. Howell money. Mm-hmm. Oh, I want Mr. Burns money. Oh, I want Richie Rich money. The kind
Richie
of
Rich.
What's from Disney? Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck.
I don't want to be Scrooge McDuck though, but it's the kind of money where I'm like, oh look, I keep my money in this room back here. You can just jump in it and swim in it like water. All the coins and stuff. Or as Archie Bunker goes, currings. All those currings.
Oh, I love Mr. Burns.
We sit down and we do play the what if we win the lottery game a lot. I mean, because number
it's
one,
all we can do.
We have to know, because if all of a sudden you win it, you're like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do now? We have no plan. We've got a plan in place. We got a plan in place. We've been planning it for so long that we won't have a problem if we win what to do with it and how to manage everything. It's going to be great.
I'm at that point now, and the wife and I were both the same. We now scratch if we're going to enter. We just want the full cash out. We know you would get more if you do the 20-year.
Same here, yes.
But we're like, can we live 20 years? We probably can, but I want to spend it now.
Right. And plus, part of me in the back of my head, nothing's coming from a family that's divorced, coming from having a divorce in my past, and losing things and doing things. I know as an older person that not everything is permanent.
True.
I used to think it was when I was a kid. I was rather naive because I hadn't been introduced
just
to the real world
taxes.
yet. Right. So I'm thinking, how about a cash payout, get all lump sum, or get a little bit at a time, and I'm guaranteed money all the way up till, whatever. And then part of me goes, what if the lottery system breaks down or some reason they can't pay it off? So what if something happens, they go bankrupt, something happens to society, I don't know, we just pick the reason, and they can't pay it off in my monthly installments or my yearly installments? That would be bad. So I'll just take it all at once. So that's another reason that I would take a lump sum.
They like when you take it all at once because you're going to end up getting less money than if they were to give it out to you over time.
Oh, so I won't get. Instead I won't get like $150 million. I'll only get maybe $100 million. Well, I can't stand that. I don't want just $100 million.
Well, then don't forget, it's winnings. 45% goes to the government.
But
the government going to take its share.
That's fine.
And then Bernie Sanders is going to tell you, you still got money left over? Well, you can't do with it what you want.
I'll still take the lump sum.
Yes,
because that's how I want it, and I can just decide to do with it what I want. So.
If somebody said you've just won just $1 million, $1 million,
right.
Of which, okay, fine, 40,000 or 400,000 of it's going to the government. Thank you, pave a road or something. I'd still be okay with $600,000.
Well, sure.
I'd figure out how to be okay with that.
Right, and I would too. And
I probably wouldn't spend it all.
No, and we've talked about, and there's different levels of winning. So if you let's say you won $500 million, we know it's not going to be $500 million. Let's just say that you won $400 million after all the taxes have been taken out. You're still taking home $400 million.
That's a lot of money.
You would spend it and do things differently than if you just learned that you just won $1 million. Because a lot of people go, "Oh, I won $1 million. What are you going to do? I'm going to buy $1 million house." I'm like, "No,
that's dumb.
That's stupid. Don't do that.
That's very dumb.
Don't do that." But if you won $500 million, you could buy $1 million house.
Yes,
that'd be different. So there's different levels of millionaire spending procedure that you'd have to go through.
Yeah. See, you and I have lived long enough without the money to know that you've got to be wise with it.
Yes.
And so, like, let's say it was just $1 million. That's what you walk away with.
$1 million.
You would have to work with an investor and make sure that you could put that in a way that you're making money every month on that money.
No matter what happens to me, I'm still going to make some money.
You'll still have to have a job probably, but now maybe you can go do what you love, get paid less, or do what we're doing now.
Yes, just keep doing this, yeah.
But yeah, you could maybe then buy a house, but you're going to have a mortgage because you don't want to waste all the money. Let the money work for you.
Sure.
We get that. Younger people don't get that.
No.
I was talking to a guy who's with the president of Century Bank here. And he's like, I am surprised the number of adults who don't understand how money works.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's scary.
And I've also heard a lot of people that are in the sports industry don't know how it works either.
Well, a lot of times these athletes, they come from a background that they may not have had a whole lot, but they're just gifted physically to go from having, let's say, no money to having millions of dollars. You don't have any idea how it works and how to save it, how to invest it. You just want to spend it.
Right. And there's a guy who does money talk on Atlanta radio named Clark Howard. A lot of people might be familiar with him because I think he's syndicated too. I was listening to him one day about things that he says. Here's things you should do if you do win the lottery. I mean, this is a smart thing to do.
I know what he says number one is.
He says number one, blow 10% of it. He says blow 10 or 15% of it just right off the top. Get it out of your system. Just blow it. Just do whatever with 10%. You win $10 million. Blow 10% of it, or 20%. I can't remember. It's somewhere in there. He goes, that way you've done it. And you're like, okay, now I've got this out of my system. Now I can do the sensible thing because I've gotten that out of my system.
That makes sense. I thought the number one thing was don't tell anybody.
Oh, that's the one thing that I would never do.
Because he said the minute somebody knows you're going to come into a lot of money and your propensity is going to be to want to spend it.
Right.
He's like, you're going to have more friends than you know what to do with and everyone with their hand out.
And relatives you never even knew you had.
Yeah. That would be my worry. My worry would be I would not want to tell anybody until I had it all tucked away and, like you said, had the plan.
Yeah.
Because there will be people I'd want to help and take care of or do things with.
Sure.
But I want to be very careful about who those people are.
Right. And we also said that if we won the lottery, I was talking to my mom and sister one day, and I said, you realize if we won a huge amount of cash, we would take care of you because all our family would take care of if it's enough to do that. But I said, be prepared to probably not see us for at least a year because we're going to be hitting the road. I said, we're going to be gone for quite a while. We'll be back, but there's going to be lots of traveling done.
Listen to the podcast. We'll be doing it on the road.
Right. I'll be taking a laptop with me. That I won't stop doing. I'll keep doing that, but I'm going to be gone for a while just to travel the world. And there's not, I don't want to say the word frugal, but there's really sensible ways to still do it because if I do win a lot of money, I want to keep it. I don't want to spend it all. I'm still not going to just go, oh, I'm worth $1 billion now. I'm not going to wear the same socks, and I'm going to have gold-plated underwear now. That's to me is just dumb stuff, and I'd never do that.
I can tell you, I don't understand people who say, oh, yeah, my jeans are $400. I'm like, you're what? Dude, my whole wardrobe's not worth $400.
They have holes in them and look like they've been drugged through the dirt.
I'd be like you in that sense. I'd spend it on.
I'd spend, yeah.
I would have a cool car. I mean,
sure,
I'd have a fun car. But I'm not going to change my wardrobe. I'm not going to be walking around in $1,000 loafers and $5,000 shirts. Right. I'm like, I never understood people who do that.
Stacy says, a lot of people would. I'd buy my own plane if I was a millionaire. I'm like, no, I would just charter one wherever I wanted to go. I'm like, number one, if I own one, I'm not going to be flying it all the time, and that's a big expense to keep up all the time.
Oh.
So if let's say, hey Alan, let's fly down to Orlando and go somewhere. Let's go to Hawaii. Oh well, how are we going to do it? Well, just go charter a jet.
Yeah, you can charter a private plane.
Great, a lot better than flying first class in some kind of airline. So anyway, this has been Money Lottery Talk here with BK on the air.
Yeah,
good thing for
we
our
talk about the
financials.
things we wish we could do if we had it.
That's right, because number one, we wouldn't be used to it because we never have it. We rent money. We have it for a little while, then it moves on out of our pockets.
I like to remind myself every night, I am rich in the things that I have already.
Yes.
And that helps me fall asleep without crying.
I figure at my funeral, I'm going to have about 40 cars. That's how you tell if you're rich. Because a lot of people showing up.
Number of people who showed up
to your funeral. It's like, hey, a lot of people came to my funeral.
Look at all the cars in the parking lot.
I'm up in the tree as the ghost watching it. I'm like, oh, look at that. That's awesome. You're rich with friends. It's BK on there. We're going to take a break, but we'll come back with more, I promise.
And now, these messages.
My guest today...
Thank you. Did you hear the one about the fellow walked into a barber shop?
Hold it, Uncle Milty. This is my show.
It was. What did I do? Come in too late for the feature? I'm talking to a cartoon.
Would I like to say something, Uncle Milty?
Oh, no. How did I get booked on this show? I got to find a new agent.
That's right. Look one up in the yellow pages. It's the fast, easy way to find almost anything.
Thanks.
What's up, Doc? For fast information about almost anything, let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages.
Cholesterol levels of many Americans are too high, but for a group of people in New Jersey, cholesterol went down. They joined in a total dietary program to reduce cholesterol. Less fats, lean meats, egg and cheese substitutes, and highly polyunsaturated foods, including Promise margarine. Promise is highly polyunsaturated. The results?
Their average cholesterol level went down. Down significantly.
And Promise tastes like butter. Promise.
This is William Shatner, and I would like to invite you to take a journey with me into the 21st century. So take the next few minutes and listen very closely. You'll be amazed at what you hear. Okay?
Well, hello there. Look at that. We're back. That didn't take too long to come back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. You can hear us live by downloading the free Tunein app or Radio Garden app if you're not close to the station to get our signal. Use those two apps to tune us in, or you can stream us on the website WBHFradio.org. Let's do a little On This Day in History, but I will start out with this for a little On This Day in History. Let's go back to 1972, which was now 50 years ago.
Are you fed up with constantly searching for the records you want? Are you tired and frustrated from always straightening out your LPs? Now with K-Tel Record Selector, this will never happen again. To choose your favorite music, tilt the first record forward. The others follow automatically. Pick your selection when it appears. To choose more LPs, lean the next record forward and wait for your choice. The Record Selector is a new space-age design for selection and storage of records. Fingertip control regulates the speed of Record Selector. To replace the records, tilt the first record forward. Record Selector, with a mind of its own, will automatically stop where the LP was taken from. End awkward selection and storage of LPs with Record Selector. Attractively finished in a gift box. K-Tel Record Selector, only $3.99.
May I state for the record...
What is a record?
I want to state for the record that I remember those things. By the way, there's a little thing, you put them in there and you flip one and they just keep flipping if you leave them alone. It's just a force of like gravity thing that pushed it. That's all it was.
I have a nylon cord. I've had a rope cord.
Yeah.
I've had a phone cord. I don't know what a record is.
What's a record?
What does a record do?
That was 50 years ago, that K-Tel spot.
I love it was space age.
1972.
Remember when everything we grew up in the 70s all was space age polymer, space age technology.
That was a selling
developed
point.
from the space station.
That was a selling point.
What the?
That was awesome.
Everything was space.
Let's do a little On This Day in History. Let's see if Alan can guess what the first one is. April 16th, on this day in history, in 1900, on this day in history, the U.S. Post Office did something. What do you think they did on this date in 1900?
Created a zip code.
No zip code. That's a good guess, though, but that's not it. They issued its first book of postage stamps on this day in history. The first book. You could buy your first book.
Instead of going to the post office and being charged individually for stamps, you can say, can I just take stamps with me? Well, we don't have that capability.
1956, on this day in history, the first solar-powered radio went on sale. You could have a radio that was powered by the sun.
By the sun.
If you want to. In 56.
With space-age technology.
Space-age technology, that's right. Today on this day in history, in 1962, Walter Cronkite begins anchoring the CBS Evening News.
Very
That's
good.
the way it is.
Very nicely done.
So
You
I
could do
I remember him.
I'll do Mr. Burns. You do Walter Cronkite. We'll have a show.
Well, tell me, Mr. Burns, how does it feel to have all that money?
You wouldn't understand. Your brain is incapable of handling it.
Well, that's the way it is. On this day in history, we're getting into the 70s now. 1972. What was the number one film 50 years ago in 1972?
Was it Godfather?
It was The Godfather, the number one film. Some would argue, and my wife would, that Godfather 2 is the better sequel, like Empire Strikes Back. She loves the second one. 1982. Let's go back 40 years ago. The top 3 video games 40 years ago. If you had to pick the big 3, I know you'll probably get 2 of them, but
one of them has got to be Miss Pac-Man.
One of them,
or Mrs. Pac-Man.
One of them, Ms.
Pac-Man.
It's Ms. Pac-Man is one of the 3. What are the other 2? Right
in 1982,
in April of '82, what would people be screaming to go
putting
play?
their quarters in? Let's see. Let's go with. We talked about it earlier.
40 years ago.
But was Zaxxon?
Zaxxon was not the most popular video game, but we did.
Well, Donkey Kong's older than that, so I don't know if people were still. Maybe like
not necessarily.
Donkey Kong Jr.
Not
or
necessarily.
Was it Donkey Kong?
The top 3 video games in 1982 at this time were Ms. Pac-Man, Pac-Man, and Donkey Kong.
Wow, so you're right. I did get 2 of them.
Yeah, so you did.
Only
Donkey
because
Kong was the one I think you wouldn't
blind
get.
Squirrels and all.
Blind squirrels.
Ooh, it's Donkey Kong.
Well, you know what? It's funny you should mention Zaxxon, because that was really a fun video game in 1982.
In a two-dimensional world of video dots and dashes, flat blips and formless blobs, one video arcade game soars a dimension above the rest. Zaxxon. Experience the control as you climb and dive. Feel the power as you attack and evade. Discover a new level of excitement with the true feel of action in 3 dimensions. Zaxxon, from the master design engineers of Sega.
And remember, Sega. Exactly right. Good old Zaxxon. That was a fun game. We talked a little bit about that earlier.
I love Zaxxon.
But it was a different game. It was more of a 3D-ish type screen. It wasn't in 3D. You didn't need glasses, but it had kind of a 3-dimensional to its controls.
It wasn't like your flat side scroller.
Right.
It had, and you could go left and right, but you could go up and down. And so they had things that would block you. You'd have to fly under or over.
And you better hope that you were at the right angle to fly through that opening in that force field.
And, dude, I never could understand the perspective. I was always like, I swear I'm lined up.
Oh, I run into that fuel tank every time.
Every time.
But if you shot the fuel tanks, you got fuel, which was good. But also, I found a friend of mine told me a little trick to it a little bit. It's if you're flying that little ship in Zaxxon and you're coming up on one of those force fields where you have to fly through the little square that's open, you go up too high, too low, too left, too right, you'll get de-rezzed. You'll get killed. He goes, try to line it up and shoot your laser. If it goes through it, you can get through it because your laser will go through the opening. I'm like,
how do people see? I get mad at myself. Like, how come I didn't think of that?
It's okay after being shown to do it, but I wish I'd come up with the idea. Right. That would have been nice. So Zaxxon, what a great... I put a few quarters in that sucker, too, by the way.
Yeah, I did.
Today, on this day in history, April the 16th, in the year 2004, The Punisher, Marvel's The Punisher, premieres with Thomas Jane. The motion picture, The Punisher, premieres, which I thought was a great movie. I know the streaming show Punisher came along and was a little more in tune with the comic book, but I thought The Punisher with Thomas Jane was a very entertaining film. I just like any movies with payback against the bad guys. I really liked it.
Liam Neeson's making a career on doing that.
And it doesn't matter what the movie's called, it's still a Taken movie.
Yes.
Of some kind.
They're the same thing.
And I've heard talk of John Wick 4 with Keanu Reeves flopping around out there. So we have that to look forward to. Birthdays today include, in 1867, Wilbur Wright was born, American aviator from the Wright brothers. He died in 1912. As a matter of fact, you can see a perfect mock-up of his plane right over here at the Telus Museum.
Wright Flyer.
And we know it's not one of the actual planes, but when we look at it and it meets specifications, it looks just like it's supposed to. You feel like you've seen it because it's there. You're staring it right in the face.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's fascinating. Today is Charlie Chaplin's birthday. British actor and comedian. Gold Rush, City Lights, name all those movies he was in. He died in 1977. And I still to this day think that Robert Downey Jr. is one of his best acting jobs was Chaplin, the movie directed by the man from Jurassic Park, Sir Richard Attenborough himself, directed because he was a great director. That's why Steven Spielberg put him in the film, because he loved him as a director and as an actor. We got more birthdays when we come back. I don't want to shortchange any of these days, and you won't believe what national day it is today. One you and I should really be appreciative of. It's BK on the Air.
Bang, bang, bang. Oh, howdy, partner. Time for timer. Do you ever get that hungry feeling after school? Boy, I do. I'm so hungry, I could eat a wagon wheel.
When I'm slow on the draw and I need something to chaw, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. When my 10-gallon hat's a feeling 5 gallons flat, I got something planned, which is little cheese sandwiches. Come on!
Here's a great little snack to tide you over till dinner. If you want something delicious and nutritious, cheese is a super snack. Look, a wagon wheel.
When my get up and go has got up and went, I hanker for a hunk of cheese. When I'm dancing a hold down and my boots kind of slow down, or anytime I'm weak in the knees, I hanker for a hunk of, a slab or slice or chunk of, a snack that is a winner, and yet won't spoil my dinner. I hanker for a hunk of cheese. Yahoo!
What molds into silly animals and silly shapes?
Silly putty?
What bounces like a ball?
Silly putty?
What stretches and stretches?
Silly putty.
What picks up pictures from a newspaper and makes them silly? And if you stretch it, even sillier.
Silly putty.
Are you sure Silly Putty can do all those things?
Yes, silly putty is fun.
Silly Putty comes in a shell shaped like an egg. Nothing else is Silly Putty.
It's okay if you don't understand what he's talking about. He probably doesn't either. It's BK on the Air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online using the Tunein radio app.
Yeah, that's mostly the problem. I always hanker for a hunk of cheese and a hunk of anything. They're setting up the barbecue and brews out here in downtown Cartersville. I'm looking out the radio broadcast window right now to all the food and the fun that they're going to be setting up. I'm not going to be able to take part in it today, but I know, Alan, you're going to go out there and
I'm going to
be able to partake in a lot of that. But I've got somewhere else.
I'm going to capture it. I'm going to film it. I'm going to consume it. I'm going to be part of it. I will join with it.
I'm still going to have food, though, where we're going, because we're going for a late Easter lunch over at Friends' house today, and we're going to, there's going to be so much food there that I'm like, what am I going to do? I need to remember, okay, so I'm wearing the belt where I can go out a notch if I have to. I just have to, people choose certain things in the closet to wear. I have to look at the gauge of belts that I have. I'm like, if I'm going somewhere to eat, I can wear that belt, because that one goes further out. This one goes further in, and this belt's just right, but that one's too big. Feel like Goldilocks choosing her belt. So let's continue with On This Day in History. Today, on this day, April the 16th, Lester Les Tremaine was born. Now, you may remember Michael Gray from Shazam. He's been on the program, good friend of ours, mentioning Les Tremaine. He portrayed Mentor on the TV show Shazam that was with Michael Gray as they drove around fighting crime in the campers they drove around. But Les Tremaine, he was a film and television actor on radio. God, he was in Angry Red Planet War. He was in the original War of the Worlds back in the late 50s with before Steven Spielberg got a hold of it. And he was mentioned he was a Shazam as well. He died in 2003. And every time Michael Gray will bring up Les Tremaine, he had nothing but wonderful things to say about that man. He said he was a Hollywood legend, really, give him some pointers and everything. And he says he was the true professional. Even on this kid's show, Shazam, he was the true consummate professional that he always was. And he's got an awesome voice. If you ever listen to or watch Shazam again, which you can see Shazam on Tubi, the streaming channel. Tubi has Shazam right now. All you have to do is sit through a couple of commercials in between, where the commercials would be there anyway. And you can see Shazam on Tubi and see Les Tremaine.
I hate commercials.
1917, this guy was born. Barry Nelson, the very first actor to ever play James Bond, was born on this day in 1917. He passed away in 2007. Barry Nelson played him in Casino Royale, a live TV production, I think, on ABC in the 60s?
50s?
1960 or 59 or something like that. But it was the first time Bond had ever been portrayed. And he wasn't portrayed anything like in the book. In fact, he was an American agent in it, and his name was Jimmy Bond.
Hey,
but
Jimmy.
He was James Bond, and he was doing a Casino Royale thing. And just to give you an idea who Barry Nelson was the guy, if you remember The Shining, when Jack is at the hotel and the man is telling him about what his duties are at the hotel at The Shining. You'll be, to stoke the furnace.
The guy who's interviewing him.
That's Barry Nelson. That's him.
Really?
He's in The Shining. He's also in an episode of Battlestar Galactica, the original series. He was on television and had a pretty good career. in Hollywood. Today is also a music composer's birthday, and I'm going to play something that this music composer wrote. Now, this is not one of the main things you'll notice that he's known for, but a lot of people remember this. But I bet everyone has heard this piece of music before. I know you've heard this. Hear that music playing? Number one, I always remember hearing it as a kid. And it's a very kid-like little piece of music, you know.
Every time it was in a cartoon, it was some kind of mechanical contraption in the background, gears turning and spinning, and something going on a conveyor belt.
Well, that piece of music is called Baby Elephant Walk.
Is it really?
I could hear, you can see a little baby elephant trying to walk with this music playing in the background.
I don't think I ever knew the name of it.
That's what that music is called. The music legend that wrote that was Henry Mancini wrote that. And it was a hit for him, and it's been used so many times. See, I could have played the Pink Panther. That would have been a dead giveaway, or Peter Gunn theme or something.
I did not know.
But I played the Baby Elephant Walk.
Baby Elephant Walk.
That's the name of that piece of music.
And I know it's been used in other places too, but I always think of it as like showing conveyor belts and
something going on,
in like an archaic factory or something. Like ooh, ooh, you see like the whistles and things like.
Henry Mancini, his birthday is today, and he died in 1994. By the way, he wrote a score for a film. He did do motion picture scores with big orchestras. There's a Tobe Hooper horror film called Life Force about space vampires. Well, Henry Mancini scored the music for that film with the London Symphony Orchestra that John Williams always used. And if you ever get a chance to go on YouTube and hear that score, it's a huge score. It's like Star Wars. So Henry Mancini could do that, too, if he wanted to. He just didn't do a lot of scores like that. So today, another music. Oh, I got another music birthday today. You remember the song or the group Steelers Wheels that had a hit called Stuck in the Middle with You?
Oh, yes.
Clowns to the left, me jokers to the right.
I will never not see the scene from
You're going to talk about Reservoir Dogs. Yeah. That's a great song, though.
Because Michael Madsen's dancing to it. He's got the cop there.
Do you remember the song, the rock song Baker Street?
I don't think
if I played it for you. Or Right Down the Line. Right Down the Line. I think we play it here at WBHF when we're playing music. Baker Street, Right Down the Line, Stuck in the Middle with You. Jerry Rafferty, it's his birthday today, but he died in 2011. He was a Scottish guitarist and vocalist. And one more birthday I have here. Today is Gina Carano's birthday.
Gina Carano.
Talk about eye candy.
You can put me into a headlock anytime you want.
What? It's so funny you should say that. Now, we know who Gina Carano is. She's a mixed martial arts fighter. She's an actress. She was in The Mandalorian. She was in her own action. Yeah, she was in her own action movie called Haywire, which had Ewan McGregor and a lot of stars in it back in the day, a few years ago. But here's what you can do if you're just looking for something to do on YouTube later. Put in Gina Carano chokes a guy out. There's a guy from a news company went and they talked about how certain moves and you can put somebody in a headlock and just put pressure on their their carotid artery below their left ear and cut off their supply to the brain.
Right, and they'll pass out.
But you obviously release them and let them come back too quickly.
You need
it's kind
to
of dangerous.
Quickly, otherwise.
But he had to sign a form and stuff. They had to monitor his health. They had a thing on him to monitor his pulse.
It's amazing how fast
she does. She puts this guy in a headlock on this video. You can look it up on YouTube. It's nothing sorted about it, and kind of puts the pressure on his carotid artery, and he passes out like in her arms while she's just sitting there. She's like, "You okay there, buddy? You all right?" And you know how sometimes when that happens to people, or if you've seen people in a plane pulling G's, or in one of those machines in the military where you're training in the G-force machine, like James Bond does in Moonraker, when you're coming out of it, you'll jerk. You have this because your body's coming back from it doesn't know what happened to it. Yeah. Well, this guy, he does that. He goes, and jerks back conscious, and she goes, "Are you okay there?" And he was almost like, "Yeah. When are you going to do it?" She'd already done it.
If you've ever, quote, passed out or fainted, it's the same sensation where you just all of a sudden go, I'm losing consciousness.
And time doesn't pass.
It's time to go bye-bye.
And time doesn't pass when you wake up. You just think it just happened a second ago. Have you ever passed out?
Once.
I have never lost consciousness.
Giving
now,
blood.
I've been giving stuff at the dentist so I can go to sleep and be put out. But
I did everything you're supposed to do wrong.
Did you give blood and pass out?
I did it live on the air, too.
Oh, really?
But I didn't pass out on the air, thankfully.
It was later?
Yeah, we were doing it. It was a remote right out here, but they say first get a good night's sleep. We already know
Right.
I don't do that.
Right.
They say make sure you eat a big breakfast or a meal beforehand,
And
which I hadn't.
hydrate and whatever,
Don't drink coffee, which I'd already had too much.
Oh, that's too bad for you.
And make sure you're hydrated, which I hadn't had any
Don't
water
drink a
yet.
lot of vodka either. You probably had a lot of that.
So I'm
too.
over there, and I'm in the headphones. I'm in there talking. We're doing a live remote. We have blood assurance down here, blah, blah, blah. Look, they just stuck me in the arm. We're going to go to a news break, and we'll be right back. I had headphones on.
Right.
Next thing I know, the woman's like, are you okay? You okay? And in my headphones, I hear, okay, and that's it for news. Let's get back to Alan. I swear to God, it was like
You
without
come to right
missing
when
a
it comes
beat.
back. Oh,
the
no,
nurse
that's
was
great.
looking at me like, that's crazy. I immediately was like, hey, right back here in the van, right outside the studio. I had no idea. I had to find out later. They're like, yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, well, do you normally? I'm like, I've given blood lots and lots of times.
Wow.
I've never. She goes, well, did you eat this morning? I'm like, no. She goes, well, what did you have for breakfast? Did you do anything? I'm like, I had coffee. She goes,
Oh, but did you have an Alan Sanders size cup of coffee? Is that what it was?
well, yeah, I had half a pot by that point.
The gallon jug of coffee.
So I did not know. Honestly, I did. And now they have that literally.
that's
I'm sure I'm not
crazy.
the only one. They have that on the forms now.
Oh, yeah.
When they say, when you're going to give blood, make sure you've eaten a really good meal beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
You've had good rest, hydration. Don't have had any coffee or caffeine drinks.
Oh, yeah.
So now I know.
I think they say orange juice helps, too, if you drink some
They'll
orange
give you
juice
that
like
after.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Get your sugar back up.
I've never passed out just out and about. I've never.
It's kind of cool because it's almost like instant sleep. It's like, and I'm going night-night.
Because you feel and know you're passing out, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know it.
Thankfully, I didn't think I fought or anything coming up. I just goes like
Well,
opened my eyes. I was like, hello.
I was put out for a procedure many years ago, and it was very strange because I'm sitting there
Well, then you
talking to
kinda
this
have
guy.
passed out.
Well, forcibly by
Yeah.
at the doctor, but I've never just kind of passed out for any other reason like that out in public. But or if I did, I forgot it. I may have and didn't know it.
If you wake up somewhere you don't remember going to sleep, that could be it.
Yeah, and my wallet's gone.
Oh, wait, no, that's blacking out. Never mind. That's a different
Yeah.
thing.
Well, I'm sitting there at the doctor the time that he starts to give the IV. He's like, I'm gonna tell you, just talk. What do you do? And I'm talking about like the independent films I've been working on and stuff that I just started telling him some stories about stuff that I did. And he goes, and all of a sudden I felt like this sensation of a warm blanket come over me, like I felt very warm. And then all of a sudden I was waking up, and I'm like, what's going? And I hated it because when I was waking up out of this anesthesia or whatever it was he gave me, I was temporarily paralyzed because when you're waking up, nothing works great. You just opening your eyes and like, can't move my arms. Now I can move my arms. It was a slow process and it felt very odd, but it was a very strange sensation because no time had passed for me in my head. I'm like, wait, wasn't I just sitting here ready to do it? No, it's over. It's 2 hours later.
Dumbass.
Hey, what do you love about freshen up gum?
Love that squirt.
What do you love when you bite into one?
Love that squirt.
Freshen Up freshens breath with a tingly liquid center. One bite squirts refreshment all over your breath.
Freshen your breath with freshen up. Here come Echo's squirt.
Love that squirt.
If you like pizza made the real Italian way with bubbly cheese, tangy seasonings, pure ingredients, you'll say our pizza is the mosta. Try some now at the Refreshment Center.
I can't hear you.
And now back to the guy who can actually walk and chew gum at the same time. It's BK on the air.
Well, yeah, I can do that. It's just patting my head and rubbing my belly at the same time is the thing that I have a problem with. I want to remind everybody that there's a way that you can see some older movies coming back out in the theater thanks to Flashback Cinema and Fathom Events. First up, Rear Window, with directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Jimmy Stewart, Sunday, April the 17th and Wednesday, April the 20th. Go to flashbackcinema.net to check it out. You'll find out if they're playing at a theater near you. Also, Fathom Events is hosting Turner Classic Movies in the theater, Smokey and the Bandit, Sunday, May the 29th, Wednesday, June the 1st, and Thursday, June the 2nd. Plus, Fathom Events in theaters again on September 4th, 5th, and the 8th. All these are like through the week. They're not on the weekends. The 40th anniversary of Star Trek II, The Wrath of is in theaters as well. Check your listing to find out if it's a theater near you. And another movie, another 40th anniversary movie will be in theaters thanks to Fathom Events in September 25th, 26th,
I don't know why they didn't go
28th.
for October.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't go for October for this one.
Poltergeist. Newsweek magazine calls it a spectacular ghost story.
They're here.
Packed
Collins of CBS TV says, Steven Spielberg has done it again. A jump out of your seats hit.
What is it?
Full of honest thrills and spine-snapping chills, says Time Magazine. Poltergeist. It knows what scares you. Poltergeist. Rated PG.
Now playing at a theater near you. Check newspapers.
Well, check newspapers and the website, Fathom Events, and you'll find out exactly where Poltergeist will be playing near you.
Oh, I've never seen that on the big screen.
Well, you're going to have to go see it then to find out. I mean, that's way. That's.
I mean, I've got that movie memorized.
You've got a long enough time to plan for that. Let's do one more thing from on this day in history that I like to include on this day in history list. Today is, and I think it's pretty cool that it's this, Husband Appreciation Day today.
Wait a minute. Yeah, it feels about like that. Yeah, I can tell.
What'd you get this morning? Did you have something waiting in your car or something?
I was
kitchen
allowed
table?
To live another day.
Really?
I found out I was not killed in my sleep overnight.
But you weren't killed in your sleep yesterday, so what day was it then? I mean, what were we celebrating then?
I think this is every day. Wow. And shouldn't it be?
But you know what? I didn't get anything either, but you know what? The day ain't over yet. So I might have something waiting for me later. Who knows?
I know.
Just don't say nothing. Let me live in my fantasy world. Let me go to see Mr. Rourke on Fantasy Island and have Husband Appreciation Day. Hey, today is the Saturday before Easter. That's right, it is. Tomorrow is Easter. I printed this off the internet because I wanted to find out some of the things. Some of these I did not know about. Easter facts. These are from 2022. Easter facts. I didn't know a lot of these. See if you knew probably some of these. I didn't know them all. Easter is the most popular day to go to church. I figured that would be
Easter and Christmas, probably your two favorite ones.
Very good. $20.8 billion total Easter-related spending to be expected in 2022. $170 per person celebrating. That's how it winds up being that in the United States.
It's a lot of money.
$20.8 billion. $3 billion is the projected Easter spending on just candy. Still not close to the Halloween record, but, why should it be?
It's still a lot
Pretty
of money.
close, though.
It's a lot. There's a lot of Easter egg hunts going on.
All right. 78% of people, this is how they eat chocolate bunnies, the biggest percentage of them.
By the ear.
Ear first. 11% eat the feet first, and 11% eat the tail first. It's like the two other parts are equally spread out. I really don't care. Whatever way I happen to be holding one, that's what gets eaten.
Did you used to get upset when you were a kid and you'd get a big chocolate bunny and realize it was hollow?
Hollow, and maybe it was already broken.
And I was
like, no.
I'm getting gypped. Look at all the chocolate I don't get.
That's right.
Why can't it be a solid bunny?
You're getting cheated, man. 91 million chocolate bunnies are sold in the U.S. each year for Easter. Now, that's just the average. It may be a little more one year. It may be a little less. But 91 million chocolate bunnies are sold. I don't know how many hollow ones are sold. 16 billion jelly beans are consumed for Easter, enough to circle the globe 3 times.
Holy cow.
I don't like jelly beans. I don't like jelly beans. I don't like gummy bears. I don't like gummy candy. The
you
dots.
Don't like chewy stuff?
No, the dots.
Oh,
like the dots.
I don't like those because they're chewy and they don't have a lot of flavor.
Stacey loves those, but she won't eat the green ones. I don't know why the green flavored ones she doesn't.
I'm a big fan of the Jelly Bellies. They kicked up the flavor in those for jelly
beans and licorice. I'm not a big fan of licorice either. I don't think you like licorice.
We have done the whole Harry Potter thing, the tie off the every flavor beans.
You just take a chance on what you get.
We did that one time. I got one that was skunk flavored.
I got a good one and I got a bad one once.
And it was so apparent, and I guess I didn't notice it as bad, but my exhalation when I went,
it came out of your breath.
My wife and my 2 kids were like, "Oh my god, I think I'm going to be sick." It smelled so bad, like it smelled worse than I guess tasted.
So you didn't get
like Limburger cheese.
You didn't get. Alas,
I got a vomit one.
You didn't get earwax.
No, I did not get earwax. I got a vomit one.
I got
a grass one. I got a dirt one. I got all the bad
grass.
ones.
I think the grass one was the one I got.
It's crazy because then all of a sudden I'll get a popcorn flavor
and it's
or
good.
cherry.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's cherry.
That's another thing you're going to love when you get to go to Universal in Florida. You're going to be able to go into Honeydukes, the candy shop, and it looks just like it does in the movie. It's just awesome in there. You might drop a little cash in there.
I'll be dropping some cash into 3 broomsticks.
Did you know, did I ever tell you, this is a side to that as well, When you're at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, you can go exchange your real money for Wizarding World money and spend it as you walk around, like you've got real currency to spend there.
I'm okay with that.
It's actually kind of fun too as a novelty.
Spell a nut. What's it called? The nuts and the little coins.
Yep. Easter facts: 80% of parents steal candy from their kids' basket at Easter.
Well, that's to be expected.
What a wonderful holiday to be stealing. It's Easter. Oh, my goodness.
Look, if I have to coordinate the drop-off time with the Easter Bunny, I at least get a commission.
Oh, hey, I would steal Halloween candy. 60% of parents plan on sending Easter baskets to their children after they've moved out.
Yeah, my youngest sent us some TikTok videos that said, "This is my rage if I don't get an Easter basket." Or this
really?
is.
Are you going to be part of the 60% that sends those out?
We're not sending anything out.
Oh, so you'll be in the 40%.
Now, I will tell you, my wife is already creating adult ones for them, but to drop for them to get at a gathering. That we're not mailing it.
And are you fans of Peeps? I never cared for the Peeps.
You know, I never mind because I don't mind marshmallow, so I don't mind Peeps.
5.5 million Peeps are produced each day. Each day.
Wait, a day?
Are produced a day, and 1.5 billion are consumed each Easter.
Do you ever put one in the microwave for a few minutes?
I've heard
not a few minutes, but a few seconds.
I've heard it's pretty interesting, but I've never done.
When the
that,
marshmallow gets hot, it starts to expand. It looks like when that guy goes out in Outland in the elevator, it's like boom. Stretches. I'm like, oh my God.
That's right. That's crazy. In 1953, it took 27 hours to make one Peep.
27 hours?
That's back when they were still new to the world and were handmade with a pastry tube. Now, don't worry. It now just takes 6 minutes. It takes just 6 minutes thanks to a unique machine called the depositor.
Oh yeah,
that creates the unique and instantly.
You eat enough Peeps. You're going to need that too.
Going to make a deposit.
You're going to be. You should be making the withdrawal.
That's right. In the old days, did you know that pretzels were associated with Easter?
No, I didn't know that.
Why? Because the twists of this salty treat resemble arms crossing in prayer. We say it's time to bring that back. Let's make pretzels popular on Easter again. I think that's interesting. I did not know that. The ones that are in the pretzel shape and the cross shape. So there's just a few Easter facts for you. There's a lot more, but that's all I could print out because I didn't have I ran out of paper. There was like 14 more pages of it. I'm like, I don't want this to take up the whole 2 hours of the show, doing Easter stuff, even though it is
I know,
Easter.
very much like Halloween. It wasn't number one, but I saw a thing, the top 10 candies.
Right.
But the Reese's peanut butter eggs
are
the number 2 selling candy.
That's not a surprise. They're really
How
good.
do you go wrong with chocolate and peanut butter?
If you put Reese's, if it's got the word Reese's on it in some way, I'm like,
get it.
I'm going to try it. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about 8 forgotten Easter television specials from the 70s and the 80s that you may or may not remember. I remember more than other people, but I have no life.
If you want to win the game, you gotta take good aim and get the most marbles with your hippo. Playing Hungry, Hungry Hippos. Hungry, Hungry Hippos.
Hungry, Hungry Hippos is the name of the game, and whoever hippo gets the most marbles wins.
Playing Hungry, Hungry Hippos. Hungry, Hungry Hippos.
I win!
Hungry, Hungry Hippos from Hasbro.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joy's got nuts, Mounds don't. Almond Joy's got real milk chocolate, coconut and munchy nuts too. Mounds got deep dark chocolate and chewy coconut. Ooh. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Peter Paul, Almond Joy's got nuts, Peter Paul, Mounds don't. Because sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
We're back. It's BK on the air here. Happy Easter weekend. If you're listening live, it's going to mean a lot. But if you're listening like several weeks later on the podcast, you're going to be like, Easter? Well, yeah, it just happened to be Easter when we were doing the show. You have to say that because you never know when someone's listening to the podcast. So you're like, okay, wait. But it doesn't matter because sometimes when you listen to a podcast, unless they're live, aren't they pre-recorded? It's like, hello, they've pre-recorded.
Generally speaking,
something that might be old.
It's the first time I've ever heard this.
Yeah. I got a list here from MeTV.com, 8 forgotten Easter television specials from the 70s and 80s. Did you grow up watching these animated specials with Bugs, Snoopy, and Burl Ives? Well, we'll find out. Christmas and Halloween specials hog the spotlight. There are far more of them. But in the springtime, we like to remember the more overlooked holiday specials of the Easter season. Of course, the Easter Bunny is the center of attention in most of these, and writers came up with all kinds of unique stories to explain why a rabbit was a central figure in Easter. The heyday of the Easter special was the 70s, bleeding over a bit into the 80s.
Here comes Peter Cottontail, sponsored by Kellogg's. Starting your mornings with Kellogg's will help you say, it's gonna be a great day.
Or, as Tony the Tiger would say, great. One is from 1971. Here comes Peter Cottontail. One of the earliest standalone Easter specials came from the masters of the holiday special. Two names you remember, Rankin Bass. We know them from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and several others. Singing, dancing Hollywood legend Danny Kaye narrated this stop-motion tale, which also featured the voices of Casey Kasem as Peter Cottontail and Vincent Price, who naturally was the villain. His villain was named January Q Irontail. What's the name of the villain in that? A month later, in May of 1971, Danny Kaye went on to the Dick Cavett Show and showed some behind-the-scenes footage from the making of the special when he was on the show, and I thought that was cool. Next, 1974, it's the Easter Beagle, Charlie Brown. Do you remember that one? Some of these you'll remember, some of them you probably won't. If you want to get a sense of which holiday television networks prioritize, check out the Peanuts filmography. A Charlie Brown Christmas came first in 1965, followed by a couple of Valentine's Day specials, Thanksgiving, and then Easter. Easter Beagle was the 12th overall animated special in the Peanuts franchise. Arbor Day came a couple of years later. Wow,
I don't remember
that one, but I guess there was one about
They
Arbor
had an Arbor Day Charlie Brown special?
Charlie Brown Arbor Day.
I have no knowledge of that.
In 1974, the next up on the list is one called Easter Is from 1974. I completely
don't know that.
Have no memory of that one. Benji, not the Benji dog from the movies, but Benji's dog Waldo is kidnapped. So begins the plot of the bizarre, now buried special Easter Is movie. A $5 ransom, the video cassette box declared on the back, luring renters to rent this Easter production. The dog napping somehow teaches Benji, again, not that Benji, the true meaning of Easter. Leslie Uggams was the big voice talent attached to that production. I do not remember that one at all. So that's a new one that's an old new one on me.
No clue.
Next up, the first Easter Rabbit from 1976. Rankin Bass again took the Frosty the Snowman approach for its second Easter special, along with traditional cartoon animation in The First Easter Rabbit in 1976. Burl Ives narrated this one, making his first return to the Rankin Bass universe since Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the snowman he was in Rudolph in 1964. Stuffy, the stuffed rabbit who becomes the Easter Bunny, was voiced by Robert Morse, who modern TV fans will best know him as Bert Cooper on Mad Men. He was on the TV show Mad Men, and he was on a lot of stuff. I think he was actually on the Match Game at one point. Next up, from 1977, The Easter Bunny is Coming to Town.
I know that one.
A year later, Rankin Bass went back to its bread and butter, stop-motion animation. This one was not a cartoon. It was stop-motion for the special that was essentially a sequel to 1970 Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Fred Astaire returned in his role as SD Special Delivery Kluger, the fellow who delivers letters to Santa, and now the Easter Bunny. Adding that extra layer of 70s stuff, there's a hobo named Hallelujah Jones and a talking train named Chugs, which is a bit like, looks like something like Thomas the Train from that children's show. Next up, there was one called Bugs Bunny's Easter Special. I do remember this one from 1977. The Looney Tunes entry into the Easter canon utilizes clips from classic cartoons inserted into a new story. That's kind of what they did, because they would take new animation of Bugs talking about stuff, and he goes, "Here, Doc, let me show you what happened." And they showed an old cartoon. Granny, the granny who always owned Tweety Bird, is looking for a replacement for the Easter Bunny who is under the weather. Naturally, she thinks of Bugs. Naturally, Daffy is jealous and wants the gig for himself.
Yep.
The Easter Duck, I guess. The classic cartoons seen throughout were largely from the 50s, including gems like Hillbilly Hare, where Bugs calls the the square dance or whatever.
square
That
dance.
was a funny one. And Bully for Bugs, where he's the bullfighter against the bull, which is just so funny. I just thinking about it, it's crazy. So there you go. Bugs Bunny's Easter special from 1977. The next one, the Bernstein Bears Easter Surprise from 1981. So we're getting into the 80s now. The Bernstein Bears, yes, that's with an A. That's how they're joking. That's how you spell it because people always spelled it wrong. It had a particularly snowy Easter in this special. It was the third of 5 Bernstein Bears specials, which largely featured obscure actors in the voice roles. Now I didn't see that one because I think I don't know. I kind of had stopped watching things by the 80s, so I don't know if I said. You remember that one?
I remember the Berenstein.
Okay. You were a few years behind me.
We always called them the Berenstein Bears.
The Berenstein. That's how it's kind of spelled. So, and the last one on the list, number 8. Is this the last one? Yeah, it's the last one on the list. A Family Circus Easter. And you know the Family Circus newspaper strip that they would have.
I know the strip, but I don't remember seeing that cartoon.
Either. Jazz trumpet legend Dizzy Gillespie voiced the Easter Bunny in this animated adaptation of the popular newspaper comic strip. That's him hugging Missy Hope, the voice of Dolly. Classic line from Dolly is, "Dying eggs isn't the same as killing them, is it, Daddy?" Like, wow, okay. Getting kind of deep there on the Family Circus Easter. So there's just a few Easter specials, mostly kid specials, I guess, that you may or may not remember from days gone by. So I know that I always remembered getting the eggs. Now, don't get us wrong. Alan and I both know the reason for Easter. We know the religious reason that the Easter's, but it was many years ago. I think it was it medieval in medieval times. That's how they started the whole thing with the eggs and the rabbit and stuff like that. Had kind of thought about that, and at least that's what I read. And that's what I heard on several of the sites of history. That's what I read. But I always liked getting the dye. My mom would get the eggs, and we'd have those little those copper wire hook things that you'd hold it onto. And I always managed to mess up one or two of them. You know, there's always the way of doing it. And there were certain ones you could get where if you dip this in this multicolored thing just right, it's almost like it would come out like a tie-dye egg. You know what I mean? With all the colored patterns and whatnot. And mine always just come out looking like a mistake or just a big artless goob.
I've got a purplish black egg.
It looks nothing like it does on the cover of that thing there. Yeah. It's supposed to look like that. But we did our share of it, and we did. Today, kids mostly go and hunt plastic eggs.
Right.
I mean, they're plastic. You know, that's just the way they do it. Not us. When we hunted eggs in the 70s, they were hard-boiled eggs that had been painted. Some of them, just to throw us off, I don't know why Mom did this, but some of them weren't painted. They were just white. They were just an egg. And it was just interesting.
Ran out of time.
Does this one count? Hey, I
was laid by the Easter chicken.
I didn't find any eggs, but I went into the barn and got 6 baskets full. Do these count?
Yeah, look at that.
They're all white. Some of them are brown. So. But Easter was fun. We always had a good time. And what's that saying? What's that little saying you always say?
I don't know.
We were talking about a saying last weekend. Remember, we always thought, we wondered where "Fix Your Little Red Wagon" comes from.
Yeah, fix your little red
wagon.
wagon.
We do know where this saying comes from because it comes from Easter. It's like, oh, dress up in your Easter best. And you know what that means. It means put on your best clothes, put on your nice clothes, because you're going to go out for Easter or you're going to go out somewhere nice. Dress up for it. Something you and I don't do a lot. I mean, you and I are T-shirt and jeans kind of guys.
Generally speaking.
And we don't have to worry about it on the radio because there's no camera in here, and I don't want there to be.
Right.
If there's a webcam in here, I'm covering it up with a towel. Like, I'm not going to broadcast on a webcam. I never understood webcams in radio studios because I'm like, oh, look, there's a guy reading in a microphone, and he's just sitting there. Great. That's action-packed.
Yay.
Why is there a camera there?
Wait, maybe he'll pick his nose in the commercial break. Forget it's on.
Or do something else. Oh, look, he's got a wedgie. Look at that.
What's he doing?
The only thing I could think of is it's just morbid curiosity. We're like, oh, I wonder what that guy on the radio looks like. Oh, let's look. And you're usually always disappointed.
Happens to me all the time.
It's like when we finally...
Are you that guy on the radio? You don't look anything like I see, like your voice. So like
it's like that.
I sound taller, don't I?
When we finally see our rock group, I'm like, I've been listening to them for so long, and now I finally get to see what these guys in this group look like. I'm like, oh, I could have waited. Those guys were like, I mean, they were music groups. They were music groups. They recorded in a studio. They weren't, but MTV came along, and all of a sudden, people had to start worrying about how they looked. And a lot of groups did not transfer to MTV well like some of the others did. Some of them capitalized on it, like Michael Jackson and Duran Duran's videos, and they just went full bore into it and just went crazy. Hall & Oates had their own awesome videos they made, but a lot of them that didn't.
Were they awesome?
Well, at the time, I thought they were pretty awesome. I liked it back when music videos didn't have to have a plot. It's just them running around in an alley with a microphone, dancing poorly to their song and lip syncing poorly to it. I'm like, look, he missed a whole line there. He didn't even say that with his lips. He didn't care. You wrote it. Oh, which reminds me, I was watching an award show one time, and Huey Lewis was on there. Huey Lewis, the news, and they were, jumping around and doing some kind of hit. Well, they were lip syncing, but everybody kind of knew it because it was a live thing and they couldn't do it, but they were lip syncing. And while they were singing it, in the middle of the line, Huey drops his microphone during this broadcast while he was lip syncing. It was just embarrassing. He just picks it back up and just gets right back into it like it never happened. I know he was just after the show. He's probably like, oh my God, it was terrible. Why did I do that? Well, no lip syncing here. Nope. We can't afford to. It's BK on the Air. We'll be back
Still
next
a lot
week.
of mistakes.
That message.
Some people never learn.
But Professor Irwin certainly learned something today. He was so worried about looking good in front of others, he presented a car to the public that he knew was dangerous.
Right. And he learned the most important lesson of all. It's not what other people think about us that's important. What's important is doing what is right.
I learned a lot too, Cape Crusaders. Next time Robin cooks supper, I'm eating out.